What's up, y'all? What's up, all my rhythmic warriors out there, all my dance enthusiasts, all my historians out of the 1960s and 1970s, all the people that's interested in dance, and not just interested in street dance, but interested in the truth and the cultural history and backgrounds of some of these things that's been created to actually come out. You know, it's not always the stories that's told. It's often the stories that's untold. I'm OG Skeeter Rabbit, and I'm your host for the day. I'm your host for here on Locker Legends. And I just love coming on with you. I know, though, that a lot of these conversations and things in what people call the politics of street dance is stressful. I know it's a stressful thing. There's enough stress out there in the world. We understand that the social issues out there in the world is often stressful. But what I like to emphasize is that street dance, and especially locking in street dance, is a microcosm of society. And everything that you see happening out there in the world, I relate to locking in some form or fashion. And to all my brothers and sisters out there that's on my general Facebook page, I know you hear a lot of dance talk from me on there. And it's because of this parallel. I try to relate to things that exist in the world and speak about world agenda events because it correlates to street dance. It correlates to the soul and African American culture in soul music and what once was identified as black soul music, in jazz, in the street dances of tap and other dances out there. They all correlate, and it correlates also in the political realm of today. The people that have the concept that they are privileged and that they control the entire criteria of things, the capitalistic concept of that you're not successful if you're not making money. Those are some of the myths that we want to dispel in here. That there are people that do things strictly from their heart and what they do. Today I have a very special guest that I'll bring on a little bit later. As soon as he logs on, I talked to him earlier. He's going to be just a slight bit later. He is a dancer that originated in the Philippines. He's a person of color. He's a man of color. And he decided that he needed to create a video to explain a lot of the terminology that takes place in street dance because their concept in the international world is much different than the original concept from the culture that created it, the African American, black and brown culture that created it from out of the civil rights era. So trying to correlate some of these things together brings about a greater understanding of what street dance is. And it brings about a very good understanding of how it connects to all of the world and all of society. I had a friend of mine say, Skeet, everyone asks me when I talk to you or when I come and see you how we rehearsed, how we practiced, how we locked and how we did things. And he says, I tell them that I don't come out there to see you just to practice, just to practice dance with you. That there's more to life than to just you to be a dance teacher. That there are a lot of things that you talk about that has to do with life in general. And I think that's what street dance taught me. I think that's what locking taught me. And I think that's what the industry of locking taught me from a very early stage in there. It taught me that there was more to it and that I was going to deal with more to it. Hold on a second. Let me take a look at something. Now, I always relate these things to history. There's no doubt I related to history. I related to a lot of things in history. And if you all have been engrossed with the Olympics in the last 2 weeks, you'll notice something that took place in the Olympics that is the forefront of the talk about all of the Olympics. You see, Simone Biles showed us that there are things that are more important than winning. And there comes a time to make that difficult decision to embrace and work toward that reality. That there are things that do resonate within a person. You would think a person at that level of going for the gold, that all that mattered to her was winning the gold and pleasing people. But there was something more important. And that's part of what I try to tell people with some of us, just some of us in locking. There's something more important than just doing the dance. There was something more important in the message than just doing the dance. Now, we are a copycat culture. We're definitely a copycat culture, even though we profess originality. It's not just the dance that's copycat. We copycat and claim ideas, concepts, anything that can move us forward in this capitalistic world of the dance being a commodity. But the dance's power is in being real. Stealing and recreating is part of the competitiveness of the cultural history. That's what exists. Now we've become sophisticated enough to put it in the terms of misappropriation, things of that sort. But these things have existed since the beginning of time. So I want people to understand that as we move on with this show and we get into some of the more lighter ways, because I'm going to have Ricki to explain to me why he decided to do this video and why it's so important for others in the world of street dance to document. Why I implore the high level businessmen in the entertainment field, the very prominent people in the entertainment field, to come together and put together organizations that can promote this dance as a cultural art form, that can teach impoverished and poor kids how to keep this culture, the real culture, because the entertainment world is not going to keep the heartfelt spiritual culture of this dance together, because they're going to do whatever it needs to take for it to become a profitable commodity to them. So the only way to keep it going is to put it in the spirit of the people, like the people that it originated from, the people that had nothing, the people that danced these dances because it was a motivation from their heart and from their spirit, that it was a calling that they had to do because they had no financial backing. They only had the one or two records in the backyards, in the living rooms, and the broken down nightclubs to perform and to do these things in. That's what inspired it. And until our artists that have become financially successful donate and put those things back together, we're not going to have it. Until our writers write the truth of history, cultural truth of history. Because when you're quiet in any situation about an injustice that you see is taking place, you're just as guilty as the people that are committing the injustice. So it's part of our responsibility, those of a moral standard, those of an integrity, in both the politics of the world today, and street dance of the world today, and music of the world today, to do those types of things. I'm going to do something for you right now, and I'm going to play the trailer to the video. I wanted to play it when Ricki was here, and I'm going to do something here. I'm going to show you that as I talk about it, this is Ricki Carranza, filmmaker, artist, and teacher. There are many like him out there like that. And there are many out there that are out there that are not like that. They just want to become famous in the dance world. There are many out there that are trying to tell a story. And my job is to help them tell the story. Now, there are a lot of stories to be told out there. I said that in one of the latest videos that I did. There are a lot of stories out there like that. People from different cultures want to tell the story of their culture. That's understandable. People in different countries tell the story as it came to their countries. That's understandable. And they're trying to appeal to the people that are in their audience. That's understandable. It comes out of history. The people that took the dance from the inner city of Los Angeles into the suburbs, they had a certain audience that identified exactly with what they wanted to do. And they appealed to that audience. And that audience embraced what they were doing. But what they didn't embrace was where it came from and where they got it from. That's why we can have a division in the world and a division in this country here today, because people will divide their concepts and they will only tell one part of the story, only one part of the story. So it's remarkable how the story actually goes. I'm going to do something right now. I am going to bring up the video. Let me see. The entire world has been exposed to a phenomenon they can't explain. Hip-hop has become, right now, a well-known word in the realm of dance.
Everything that is street dance, they call it hip hop. Which came first, street dance or hip hop? I don't know. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
This thing is worldwide.
To explore that, we must go
international.
All of this existed. Popularity is increasing, but the knowledge and understanding is decreasing. Balance is what must be kept for the dancer's personal growth and career, but most of all, for the preservation of the culture itself. My name's James Higgins. I am a dancer by heart, not by profession. The culture I came from proudly dubbed me a lock. They call me Skeet Rabbit.
That's the trailer to the movie Beyond Hip Hop. And there's some specifics.
Everyone is calling this the new $1 billion stimulus program. It's a brand new.
We almost got off into that commercial thing again. Now, let me bring something to you on this. That that was brought to the forefront because of some things that take place in the international world that people aren't really aware of. My brothers and sisters from inside of the hood, from inside of my community, they understand a lot of the terminology that took place. If you're from my era, you understand the terminology that took place from my era during the civil rights era. If I was to say Banigani, black brother, you understood that came from Swahili. You understand that a lot of the hair products and things of that sort took place back then. If I was to walk up to you and shake your hand, and I shook your hand with a thumb grip handshake, you would be able to understand the message of that thumb grip handshake. If you were a dancer, an international dancer, and I did the thumb grip handshake, your interpretation of what that handshake is much different than the interpretation that comes out of the African American community, and especially the African American community that dealt with it from the era that I talk about. So in the movie Beyond Hip Hop, when I first came on with Ricki Carranza and he asked me to narrate that video, I began to understand that there was a loss in the translation of the terminology. The movie focuses a lot on what is street dance and hip hop. What's the difference between the two words? And to an old schooler like myself, there is no comparison because the connotation of street dance does not mean dancers that dance in the street. It did not necessarily mean dancing that actually materialized and was created in the streets. The streets is terminology used for the community, the culture, the background of the community. So when you say street dance, you mean a dance developed from the culture of the African American community, because that's where we developed most of our stuff. The streets meant the backyards, the nightclubs, the living rooms, the pool halls, the bookie joints. That's where a lot of our culture was developed. And a lot of it was developed in the kitchen. So we talk about street dance, the gestures, the beaming, the background, the purpose, all of that was developed from that culture. But when you say street dance to a person that does not understand that, they believe it was developed on the street corner. They believe that it was dancers that went out, took their cups and their saucers out. They danced on the corner for change. The confusion is that's partially correct, because in the hip hop culture, there were b-boys that took it out to the street corner. In locking culture, there were some dancers that took what they developed in the hood, in the streets of the hood, out to the corner. I was one of them. On Hollywood and Vine, I used to go and taunt the minds that sat there. So the street culture of what street dance is compared to what hip hop is has a connection, but it was explained in the video. We just got my good friend Ricki Carranza up, and we may go through that video one more time because I want him to explain a lot of the things that he's talking about in that video. Welcome, Ricky. How you
Uh,
doing?
Hi, Skeet. Yeah, yeah.
I
I'm
know, man,
sorry.
it's hectic, man. When you got kids and you're trying to do something that's constructive to the community, you're trying to give back and teach. You're doing all those things. I know time is it can get to be hectic, but you're here, and that's what counts, Ricky. And you're one of those people that I don't care if you're a minute late, you're gonna get here. I knew when you gave me your word you were gonna be here, you were gonna be here. So I threaten none. I showed the video. Now
Okay.
I may bring the video up one more time if I can get back to it. But I may bring it up one more time because I was explaining to them, and here's something I want you to go over with the people. Ricky, first, give them about 30 seconds of what you do there in Finland and what you've done in your career. I know it takes about 2 days to get that out. You get it out in about 30 seconds, all that you've done. You can get it out. Would you
Yeah.
would you get it out and tell them, and I'm gonna pull up some things for you.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm a dancer. I'm still a practicing dancer, and I run together with my wife and my family. We run a dance school called Style Dance Industry here in Finland. We've been operating since 2007. I've been here in Finland for almost 16 years, about 16 years, and we also do other stuff. We also run a an IT company. We do uh, platforms, software. So that's another thing that we do, and also we do different kind of stuff. But I think that's 30 seconds is up. So that's what I do. That's what I
Well,
do. I do a lot of things, and of course, I am a family man. I take care of my
Well,
family.
I
I
think
have four
that's
kids.
one of the most important things, Ricky, is understanding that us as dancers, the real dancers, people that's really dedicated to making some difference in people's lives. Most of us are family people. A lot of us that think that we got to give up being a family person to be a street dancer. No, I think they go a little far to the left. Most of them, you got to have a love somewhere. Hey, I think I got the video pulled up again. I'm gonna play the trailer to this video one more, as we say in the hood, one more again. I'm gonna play it one more again.
All right.
Here we go.
The entire world has been exposed to a phenomenon they can't explain. Hip hop has become right now a well-known word in the realm of dance. Everything that is street dance, they call it hip hop.
Which came first, street dance or hip hop? I don't know. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
To explore that, we must go back before all of this existed. Popularity is increasing, but the knowledge and understanding is decreasing. Balance is what must be kept for the dancer's personal growth and career, but most of all, for the preservation of the culture itself. My name's James Higgins. I am a dancer by heart, not by profession. The culture I came from proudly dubbed me a locker. They call me Skeet Rabbit.
Ricky, awesome. Like, first of all, your skills in putting together that trailer was awesome. And one of the questions I think a lot of people want to know, because I started to explain. I started to. There goes the commercial end of it. I started to explain to people my rendition of why you wanted that particular subject addressed. What was your motivation for creating this film?
I think because of the confusion about the subject, and since we are in the dance school in business, so we are educating kids, students. So the subject always comes up, and I know that it is a global subject, and so I thought I said we should do this, and that's why I came to approach you and say that, hey, we should do this, and it's a timely subject, and at the same time I think that it's beneficial for the new generation.
I think you summed it up really, really well. And when I was talking before you came on, Rick, is basically what I said. When you approached me, the reason that I felt so compelled to narrate it is because I understood the subject matter. And traveling internationally, terminology is so skewed. And when the terminology is skewed, the understanding of the terminology is often skewed. Hip hop became a term in general. People think it just means dance. Some people
Yep.
think it just means music. Some people think it just means the way you look, that if you turn your head sideways or backwards, you're
Right.
bound with the hip hop culture. But they didn't understand that street dance was a term that it came long before hip hop. And it was not meant for it to be just from the streets. It meant from the streets of the culture that it came from is the streets when you're talking in terminology to people from that background. So I think you explained that really well, that there was a reason. And your term in there, education, is real important, because without the education of dance, then people can't relate to what their feelings can really entail. I think it's really deep, Rick. So you actually, Ricky, I don't know whether you read my mind, but you actually answered part of the second question. The second question that I was going to ask you is, why did you want me in particular to narrate that film?
Because I know you. Because I know you, and I know your background, I know your history. We've been talking for a long time about these things and more. And I said, I think that it is best that somebody that, what is the word, like precedes the the uh, the phenomenal of the hip hop culture should narrate it. And of course, even though I I also experienced the pre hip hop, but I was very young then. So I think I thought that knowing you and your background, and also your contribution to the dance culture, then you would have authority to talk about these things. Also, because I know you're an honest man. I know you are an honest person, and you always try to find the balance. And I thought that you should be the one. You should be the one to do it.
Well,
I have thought of different persons, but I said no. I think that's Skeet. I think that, and at the same time, like it has multiple meanings. Like beyond hip hop means before hip hop. You were there before hip hop. I
well,
I think
yeah, again, the terminology is real important to explain.
yeah.
I was there before the term hip hop.
Before that term, yes,
Yeah,
became a global sensation. Yes,
yes, but the
that's what
movement,
I meant. Yeah.
yeah, I know, and that's what I'm trying to explain to the people, that these conversations are important, because you have a background uh, from the Philippines in the entertainment world of street dance that far supersedes a lot of the Philippines connection to hip hop. You
Yeah.
were one of the originals that tied in some of the video I see. The funk and soul dancing of Soul Train emanated through you in an era there. So I want people to see that there are different eras and different times and different communities and different cultures that were all affected by this.
Yes. 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 I mean, like as I said, I was young when the funk era came, and of course the hip hop came later. The hip hop term, term before it it blew up. But I'm not a first generation dancer. I'm a second generation because there were others who were before me, so I was following them. I mean, I'm talking about
in the Philippines.
I'm talking about the Philippines, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I met you, and I said, okay, so basically my first generation were copying you or were following you. So that was the connection, and that was the evident connection. And as shown in Beyond the Block, the first movie, the connection was so clear there that we even though we were on the other side of the globe, somehow we were affected by what was going on. We were affected in a positive way, inspired by what was happening in the U.S. at that particular period or during that period.
It's deep. And now I'm gonna. You just sprung another question I didn't write down before, but just your talking there brought about some thoughts in me. You're saying that that, and I think it happened all over the world. They begin to see what was taking place in America and what had taken place, and they begin to do what they saw. But at that point in time, they didn't actually know where it emanated from within the culture of the African American community. Am I right? No one was actually teaching the age of the civil rights era and the gestures and that sort of thing. Am I right? They were seeing it and they knew that it was drawing something, but they didn't know what it was.
Yeah, for some reasons, for us, for me particularly, when I was when I was young, when I was following that, because at first I saw it on the Soul Train, and then later on I was seeing the Jeff Kutash dancers, and of course this was like in the 70s already, and then other American programs, but we knew for some reasons we knew that it is a black thing. We call it the black dancing. We call it the black. I didn't know at that time, of course. But we knew that it was like, okay, this is, in fact, we call ourselves always at the time, we always call ourselves like the black style dancers, because we knew that this is rooted in the Afro-American culture.
What do you think? What do you think is such a powerful attraction around the world, like it came in the Philippines with a powerful attraction? What do you think is the most powerful attraction that attracts people to the African American expression of dance?
It was the rawness of it, which is the exact definition, the redundant definition of either hip hop or street dance. It is that rawness. It is that freshness, you call it nowadays too, but it is just that the passion. And I think that drove me nuts when I first saw it. I fell in love with it. I said that there was no such thing. This is a dance that I would follow for life, and I'm right. I'm 56 years old now. I'm still practicing it. I am still in love with it.
I think that there's something. There is a magic to it, and I think that some of the international world took it and they start taking the word power, and then they flip the word power to mean fastness and intention, the intenseness of the dance. But here's what I see. Because I go back to what attracted the real powerful in our era to it. And it's a message of people that don't have and that's oppressed, that they can express through their body language. And I think that comes out in there in that word that you said, rawness. I think it comes out in the rawness of the dance.
That was it.
So I think that some type of way through video screens, through Soul Train's rawness in the 1971, 72, 73, the rawness of it came out. The passion of the movement came out, and it could be seen through the screen. It could be felt through the screen. And I think that that's part of what attracts it internationally. There's only one thing I think that takes place, that when it's first taught, it's taught commercially and people don't really know what that power, what that passion really is. And that's why we kind of teach it. And I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think that's kind of what you were trying to bring out in your movie, that there was something deeper than just being able to do the dance.
Yeah, it's the story and also the honesty, the rawness, which means the like unstructured. It's almost like like an honest expression of what you feel, and that's what I saw in the dance, and that's what I try with all my films. You know, we have done already a few, but the Beyond the Block and the Beyond Hip Hop is just. And as we have discussed so many times, we try to make it as raw as possible, as transparent as possible, presenting all sides and trying to be neutral. We try that. I think it was quite evident in the film, and I hope that people see it that way too. But it was just that transparency and the love for truth and honesty. I think that's what it is. Like we didn't, we were very careful in tackling the subject. Like
Well,
these are the subjects.
yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to be careful when you're facing a distortion. It's
Yes.
hard to be careful because you're trying to do it without stepping on others' toes.
Yes.
But others keep sliding their feet under your toes. So
it's what it is.
So you can't help but step down on some toes sometimes,
know.
Rick, and that's
know.
disheartening. People that have another concept on these things sometimes, that's where I want my young dancers out there to understand agendas. When people don't want you to hear something, there's an agenda there. They don't want it for a reason. They don't want you to understand for a reason. So that's people like Ricki, and I would like to include myself. We try to put it out there where you really make the decision out there on what's real and what's not real. All we do is give you the stories. We tell you where it comes from, what it was about, when it was about there. And as a rational person, we depend on you, the dancer, to make that determination on what touches your soul. Because without it touching your soul, your dancing can never be real. So, Ricki, now that we're talking about stories, let's go back to when we first touched bases. I think it was like about 2005, 2004.
Yes, maybe 2004, around 2004, I think.
Yeah, we touched bases, and it was through a good friend of ours, that somebody that touched both of us in dance. Grady, I danced with from probably the very beginning. You want to do the honors of pronouncing his name?
Greg Campbell Jr.
Greg Campbell Jr.
He's like, as a good friend, dear friend, mentor, teacher. I'm like,
and Greg, once he got involved in the commercial world, Greg had his faults like everyone else. He's got some people that talked about him as enemy and this and that. But I have to say one thing about Greg. Greg tried to put a structure of this dance together so that he could go out in the world and teach young kids and people of that. And I have to tie Tony Gogo in the Asian community that put a lot of things together that was trying to teach not just the steps, but trying to teach some of the other parts of the dance and structure it. So when I met Ricki, Greg was on his way to was it Finland? Was it no? It was Italy then, wasn't it?
Yeah, Italia. We organized something. I organized something for him in Italia when I was still living there.
Yeah, and he went out there and he spent about a month there with you.
He was there for a while. Yeah. We traveled in different parts of Italy, all the way down to the south.
Well, here's it leads to a story. If anybody knows that time, it was the around June of 2005, and Greg went with Ricki into Italy.
Yeah,
and I didn't actually know Greg was gone at the time. Greg was supposed to be taking care of putting together Locker Legends boot camp, which we were going to do at the end of August. Now Ricki had invited me to come also, but the budget changed. And Greg was the one that got to go.
Yeah.
But Greg disappeared. I couldn't catch him for a while. And Greg said he lost his passport in Italy and needed to get back. And that's at the time that I wound up having surgery, prostate cancer surgery. And he came back. And that set off a trail of things that took place from the Rennie Harris workshops in Philadelphia, through what was to be the Locker Legends boot camp, but it was moved and changed and became the elite boot camp, the elite locking camp in Las Vegas. through the funk camp in Sweden, which was the first time that we actually did a camp that had more than one locking instructor and more than one old school locking instructor. Let me put it that way. Original
That's right.
locking instructor.
That's right. Yes.
And shout out to my boy Rob One. That trailer,
Rob One,
that trailer that we just showed you was shot at the Swedish funk camp in 2018. Ricki came over and we put on a heck of a camp, huh, Rick?
Oh yeah, well organized camp. Thanks to Rob One, that was a good one. Yeah,
that
props to
circle,
him.
that circle that we reminisced of the old school.
Oh, that was
storyteller.
That was it. That finished the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. That's reminiscent of culture, because that's the way the old school tribal storyteller would sit down and tell the tribal story to the elders.
Exactly.
And
that
we
was a good
replicated that, and Rob One was there, Nabakush was there.
That's right.
Manny was there.
Manny was there. Yeah.
Manny was there. Also, Locksmith from France was there.
That's right. That's right.
My brother from Grenoble, from not Grenoble, but from
Sri Lanka,
Gothenburg, Sweden.
Yeah, Satis was there too, I think.
Satis was there. Those were all people that were in that video. Shout out to all of them, because they're all rhythmic warriors and teachers of the message and the dance. So, shout out to all of them. But that is the prelude story, as I wound up with, and
exactly.
And the Hip Hop International was at the very end of that August.
That's right.
The very first Hip Hop International was at the end of that August. And our intention, Greg and my intentions, was to put Greg and Don back together again.
Yeah.
But just like in most of locking, the concept of Greg versus Don that had been wedged from outside people for so long caused a controversy. And it caused the Hip Hop International to go in another direction, which, as we can see, is part of the history and culture of today. So we explain those things in various ways. And I think you had a chance at one point in time to re-interact with the elite camp in Las Vegas, right, Ricki?
Yeah. Greg was talking to me about it even as early as, I think, well, he mentioned something about in 2003 when I met him in December, basically, around December. He mentioned something about that, but then in our communication sometime in 2004, he was talking about a camp that he has been wanting to do. And then in 2005, he said that, okay, I'm going to hold it somewhere there in the, what is it, Pomona area, somewhere there.
Ontario.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he was asking me to come over, but for some reasons I couldn't. I was still in Italy, and I think I remember I was going somewhere at that time, so I was so busy, so I couldn't make it. So I told him that I will try to come to the next one, and he asked me also to film it. So because he knew that I was into filming, and so he said, "Yeah, can you please record that one?" So I recorded that 2006. Yeah, and I got still footage of that.
As the stories evolve, my young people out there, my old people out there, my in-between people out there, my short people, tall people, all my people out there, as these stories evolve, it starts to come into focus.
Yeah.
The first camp that Ricki was invited to was the Locker Legends boot camp that we were to put on in Ontario, California.
Yes.
And we had secured a theater where we were going to do the lectures, the presentation, and the films. And we had actually secured a studio that we were going to teach at, a club and a restaurant, and all of those things. Those were secured. Greg changed that to have, when he went out of town to Italy and then to Rennie Harris, he changed that so that people in Las Vegas could put that camp together. And they put it together under a different name, under the Elite Locking Camp. The first one was the Locker Legends boot camp. That was the first one. He put it together under that, and he invited Ricki out to the second one. So it was the second one that they put together and actually completely changed the name. When I went to the first one and did the first one with Greg, it was a surprise. He didn't know I was out of the hospital. So when I did it, we talked about doing the second camp, but I never did the second camp. He changed it again, and that's where it went. Like I said, just like with the original Lockers, with the beginning of the original Lockers, it was all about the dance and fun until the business end came in. When the business end came in, you never knew what direction a person would choose to go when they were offered the opportunity. And you got to look back in the history. Greg and Shab and Penguin, they were trying to make careers. Some of them did. I think Penguin and Shab did make somewhat of a career. The only one that made a lucrative career was Tony Basil. Fred Berry did for a while. So it was a dog-eat-dog industry. And it's transpired into today, and it's transpired into governmental politics, it's transpired into business. But people like Ricki and myself trying to keep it real. Ricki, you invested a lot of your money and your time in creating this film. Where do you hope it goes?
I think that it would hopefully that it would be a lifetime legacy for the new generation. This film is, and the as far as the budget is concerned, of course, you know, the traveling and all the equipments and all the other expenses like filmmaking would incur.
Yeah.
But it's all worth it. It's all worth it because right now it's done, and I've been using it. People have been watching it and inspired, and so far I've been receiving a lot of good comments. And also, it's still going. We haven't actually published it publicly. We've been only sending it the links privately because we have a plan. As I said, we are building a system, and we're about to launch it very soon. So, and then we will use that platform to showcase all our films. We have done quite a few, and now we're also finishing another one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're finishing another one. You have probably seen it. It's on YouTube. It's What Happened to Turbo. That's not the working title. It's the story of Michael Chambers.
Oh, story of
Turbo.
Turbo's life.
Yeah. So
Those,
this is
those
this is
those are some often questions that the dance world has, because some of the first people that they saw were the commercial people. Well, I won't say just commercial. Some of the commercial people did come from serious roots, but
yes.
they saw them as dancers in the commercial world, and they became icons. So the stories of their lives are very important for you can understand. They can tell you themselves of where they came from and how it got to be. Because I've heard several stories dealing with the what's happening that had to do with Fred Berry. Several stories, and these are directly from Fred Berry. Some of the stories I heard. I won't necessarily go through them now. The stories that of Shabba-Doo when he was dealing with trying to make the breaking movies, Electric Boogaloo movies, and there's certain things inside the movies that you see that they correspond exactly what you were told. How they wanted him to be the king of dance in there, and how he tried to tell them the real story, but they wanted this fictional story, but had some real roots to it. So it's awesome. But it's great that you're doing a story of Turbo, of Michael Chambers, because people need to hear
People need to hear it.
that
People need to
particular story. Yeah, they need to hear that story. He has a story to tell. So it's so good that it exists the way that exists. And I want people to understand that the controversy that takes place, people don't like the stress. But before you came out, I don't know if you heard it, I did a thing on Simone Biles. I talked about Simone Biles,
the idol of my daughter, because my daughter is a gymnast herself and she wanted to be like her.
Yeah.
We were just talking about a few minutes ago before I joined in. Yeah.
What I told people before is what Simone Biles brought out in this Olympics was greater than winning a gold medal.
Oh, yeah.
She brought out that she had something more important than winning. And I think a lot of dancers got to understand that there's something to this dance that is more important than winning.
Yeah.
And if you want to feel real funk and soul, you got to submit to that, what that is. And you know, the same with, and I've had a lot of people, when Ricki came and asked me to do this film, I didn't hesitate, because there was a message that needed to be told And I was honored that he asked me to help tell that message. It's not the history of everybody's dance.
Yeah.
It is clearing up the confusion between what is hip hop and what is street dance.
Exactly.
And in that, we get to sprinkle a little bit
Exactly. The word sprinkle, yeah.
of
That's
what
good.
the history is because we're talking about it. So it's
Yeah.
interesting film in that concept. We show some of the origins, we show some of the things a little bit. And what I loved about Ricki is he told me off the bat when I started talking, when he came to me, I said, hey, Ricki, I said, I can narrate. I said, but I can't narrate anything that ain't real from here.
Exactly.
He says, don't worry about it. He says, anytime you feel that you need to say something in there, feel free to say it. So he gave me the latitude to express what I really felt about things.
Yeah.
When I've had so many other producers tell me, oh, this is creative writing, and they will change everything. And Ricki didn't do that. And a lot of things that I do, I want people to know that I don't get paid for what I do, but I don't look to get paid. If someone offers to pay me or they have a budget to pay me, that's fine. But I don't, when it's something that resonates, that needs to be said, I would rather say it and not get paid than not have it said at all ever in history.
Exactly.
So it becomes important to do those types of things. Ricki, so I think we talked a little earlier. I wanted to try to do a screening in Locker Legends of the movie, and you sent me a link to the movie. So we will do a private screening inside of Locker Legends page before we release it to people, because I want to have people in one place.
Sounds good.
To talk about the movie. So we're going to set up a date with a link.
Yeah.
My brothers in Chicago that have been on me about this movie. We're going to set up a date. We're going to do a screening inside of Locker Legends.
Yeah.
What I know for me, I'm reaching that stage where I just want to go up in the stands and watch them film Soul Train. I don't want to dance on the floor no more. So it's that time for me in this dance scene. And I told Rob One, I tell Frank Ajera, Willow, some of the great people, A-Train, I tell those great people, it's time for me to leave the message I've been hollering for years to you all. So what's next for you, man? What you got going next?
Okay, so after I do this Turbo story, which is really an inspiring movie, we've been working on this for more than 5 years now. We have tons of footage, and the story is so captivating. You can actually see the impact of it on YouTube. We're 500,000 views on a trailer. Only a trailer, 500,000 views already. Like, I didn't know. We just put it up, just because I wanted to show Michael Turbo, so the development of the project, because he's also eagerly waiting for it. Well, I didn't know that it would hit that, that.
Oh, I would have
500,000 already.
I would have guessed, because the impact of the Breaking movie, second movie, Electric Boogaloo, and people need to really pay attention to those titles, because they have a historical background. We all know Breaking was not popping and it was not locking. So there was a reason that the movie was called Breaking. Yeah. We also know the movie Electric Boogaloo. We also know what Electric Boogaloo is and who the Electric Boogaloos are and who was in the movie that was Electric Boogaloos. We also know that that was not locking and that was not the B-boy scene. That was not breaking. So there's political things that was involved in that. But I would have guessed it would have been a popular, because millions of people around the world only know Michael Chambers as Turbo.
Exactly.
And millions of people only knew Shabba-Doo by the representation that he did in that movie. They only knew Locking Street Dance by the Lockers.
Exactly.
We are here to tell the extended stories of those, how they got to be who they are.
That's what it is.
And what the climate was that allowed them to become who they are. Because we all know these dances came from where?
Yes.
Came from the streets of the African American community. We all know that's the basis. So Ricki, outside of that, you're still teaching your classes?
Yeah, I still teach. my students. We have a very very good body of students. I enjoy working with kids. Of course, my kids are also growing up, and so I'm teaching them too, together with others, and for me that's a privilege. That's a blessing, indescribable. I
Yeah.
like doing that. I love doing that, and the school is. I thought at some point in time that I would leave the school because I was so busy in filming and other businesses. But then, no, it keeps on growing and growing and growing. And now we work with the government, and it's just growing up, like it's expanding. And so I said, okay, then it is not yet time to
Well,
lower it.
the hearts of the
We have
kids
to
are
keep on
pure.
doing it.
The hearts of the kids are pure. They're genuinely doing it for a
Yeah.
reason outside of trying to win or trying to teach a class or trying to become turn it into a commodity. So it's pure. I noticed that in that area of the world, Finland, where you're at, and
Yeah.
Sweden, that the kids are very important to teach.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I tell people that the kids you can teach just to do the style of dance because that's where they learn to love it at first, and as they grow in it, then you start to infuse in them the culture and the background and where it came from. But at first, you allow them to just do the style and let them do the style.
Yeah. Yeah. They are like sponges, and then they would learn steps if you teach them steps. But if
Yes,
you teach them the essence, they will get the essence, and that's what we try to do. We
but
try
I
to
think
teach them the essence of dance, and the love for life, for the expression of life, and that's the most important thing right there. Because
yes.
when you got it, then you will have the soul, what we call the soul, and it will just come out of you naturally. And that's what we try to teach the kids. We don't teach them just steps. The
I
steps
think
are
in
just
locking, it's not.
exercises. Yeah.
I think in locking, it's not bad to teach a foundation.
Yes.
Like Greg laid a foundation. I try to
Yes.
lay a foundation. I try to lay
Yes.
a structure for teaching
Yes.
because if we don't do it,
They will be
who
all
do
over.
yeah, we've learned. We've learned.
Yes.
If we don't do it,
Exactly.
the Olympic Committee is going to do it. Somebody,
Exactly.
somebody, somebody is going to structure correctness.
Yes.
And if we don't start to teach the kids, like I say, you don't pressure them, but you teach them the steps as they know the Scooby Doo, the Skeeter Rap, and then you let
Yes.
them go ahead and do what they do with it. Later
Exactly.
on, you start to teach them the culture and the background,
Exactly.
but you allow them to do what they're going to do with it. So, hey, Ricky, you got a beautiful family there. You got you say you got a gymnast. You got any dancers in that family?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So Eddie is our b boy. He's my prodigy. Everyone keeps saying me, "Okay, you can retire now, Ricky."
Oh, he's
Uh,
gonna take it over.
yeah, he does. He's doing gymnastics, so he's really good in all those tricks. And of course, he's learning the foundation, locking, popping, all this breaking, and yeah, he wants to be in the Olympic. So I said,
Oh, when
okay,
he gets
we
there,
we, we train you. So
yeah,
we're training him.
like I said, teach him how to be a teach him the difference between a b-boy and breaking.
He's learning that. He's learning that. Yeah, we make sure that he learns that. So he has really gone a long way. He has progressed so much, and he's still young. He's getting there. And another one of my kids, Bella, she's into gymnastic big time, and she's right now she's doing well in her career. For her age, I think that she has already accomplished a lot, and the skill that she has acquired is amazing. And of course, the other two are also dancing, Alessandra and Lele, my youngest 6 years old. They're because they grew up in dance. They always see it in the dance school, and they always see me doing everywhere, even at home. We dance together. So just like at home when I grew up, I learned it from my family. I learned it from my family. Nobody from my family is a dancer,
You
but
were the first.
my family just loves to dance. Yeah, my grandma was in the show business. She was a film actress, TV and film actress. So she was doing all those things, singing and dancing. But she moved to the U.S. when we were young. But they said
That's
that I
amazing.
got it from her.
That's amazing, Ricky, because my grandmother and my cousin was Stymie Beard, and they were in the entertainment And when I first started dancing, I didn't realize why my grandmother and my mother were so opposed to me going in. There was no real professional dancing, but we were going that way. We were spending hours and hours doing it. And I was wondering why she was like that. And she was like that because she had come out of a professional entertainment world in which African American people had gotten beat, misappropriated, ideas were stolen so much that she was very apprehensive of me going in it. She once called me in her room and told me, my grandmother, she said, Skeet, you're not doggy dog enough to survive in that world. I didn't know. And believe me, I've had a lot of things happen to me in the entertainment world that I didn't suspect because I believed in the street concept of the brotherhood, peace, keeping it real. I believed in that. I didn't realize that the entertainment concept of dog eat dog, get yours before they get yours was going to come into play.
I am glad, bro, that I learned that from the street. You know, like I grew up in a place. It was a middle class area when we were kids. It was quiet, and then after some time, you know, because there were so many empty lots that squatters moved in, and before long, our place was a very interesting place with all kinds of people, and so that's where I learned that. About the brotherhood and about the street honor, that you don't cross the line. there are lines you don't cross, and I have so much respect for those guys that they some of our neighbors were like ex-prisoners and stuff, and all kinds of cases, but I learned from them that there is a street code of honor. Is like there's just there's the loyalty somehow that you don't cross that line.
Exactly. Yeah. You learned, and when we went out to film Beyond Hip Hop,
Mamma Mia!
I want to go up on Crenshaw. I want to film up around Mavericks Flats, and I want to go down into the hood and the Watts, and I take dancers that really want to know. And I've done a lot of them. I hope they speak up one of these days and people start to tell these stories of what I did. I take them in there, in around Verbum Day, back up behind the Watts Towers, and I show them the culture and the background so they know that it's real and that it existed. But when we were shooting the trailer, and you went into your producer's mode. I mean, you got what a $5,000 drone.
Drone.
I called you. I said, Ricki, don't fly that drone over them apartment buildings over there. We don't know what they're selling in the apartment.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that.
Yeah, because the culture in the streets, people got to understand the culture, the streets in the background. And you laughed, and I think it was on 103rd and Central, right where Watts Writers workshop is. We were right there, and we were there, and some guys stopped and they started looking to see what you had. I was looking at the van to make sure the van was locked.
Yeah.
And they were looking, and I was telling them, I said, watch those guys over there. Because those people are very, very particular about their turf.
Of course.
And
I remember
that they don't recognize, it's a whole nother concept that exists.
I remember you told me, Ricki, watch out. And I thought that you were getting ready to pull out your gun or whatever. You told me, Ricki, watch out now. Okay, watch out now, Ricki. And I look at you and I said, oh, this is serious. Yeah, then I look at those guys that they were checking us out.
A lot of dancers don't understand that. And just the right words, just the right nod to some people from the hood, if you know the hood, if you're from there like I am, they'll look at you and they'll nod, they'll understand. And you have an understanding.
Yeah.
That's locking, y'all. That's the dance. That's the representation of the body and the movements and the message of the body. That you can look at somebody, you can hit them, you can nod, you can point. You can do the wrong thing or you can do the right thing. In locking, I understand the language because I was from where they were at. Now, if I go to the Philippines with Ricki, I got to listen to what he say. I got to go back because he understands the streets there. So a lot of you dancers don't understand the street code of what's taking place. And that's the soul of the dance, to understand that. So Ricki, I was trying to pull up one more thing, but we're going to have to move it on. I wanted to do I wanted to show people that I also did a cameo in another film that was on Showtime called Burn Mother Burn.
Oh, really?
And in that trailer, I started to teach about what the gestures mean in the streets of the dance. Not on
Right.
stage, not what Fluky and some of my brothers that did it on the stage did, but they know in the streets.
Yeah.
I started to show that. And I'm gonna have to pull that trailer up at another time and show it to you all. But I want you to be aware that Ricki and I are setting up the link to show the entire movie on the Locker Legends page, and we'll be logged on to answer any questions there. And Ricki, thanks so much for joining me. Anytime you want to come on any of the shows that I'm doing, Ricki, hit me. I'll send you the link.
Let's
You
do this
pop
again.
on.
Oh, we have a lot of things to talk about.
A lot of things to talk about, my brother.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. We're going
Thank
to
you.
keep that movie going, and we want everyone out there. If you saw this show and you like this show, say something. Pass it on. Click like. See, that's another problem that we have. We all want support,
That's
but we
right.
don't want to support each other.
Mm.
The dance world should have a voice in all that's taking place in the world, even more powerful than the politicians. The only problem is we won't dance our message. We dance their message. Love to you, Ricki. Peace, bro.
Thank you, Skeet. Thank you, big bro. Okay, God bless. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bless. Anything
Thank
else
you,
you wanna
everyone,
say,
for
Rick?
listening.
Peace.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, y'all. That was a good little sit down with Ricki. I want people to understand different sections of the international world, the international concept of dance, and what their perceptions is. I want you to understand the terminology is often taken differently within the international world than the original scene. And there's even in betweens. There's the original dance scene, there's the original commercial dancing, and there's the original people from the streets and the hoods that understands the message of street dance. They understand it because they've danced in their living rooms, their back rooms, their front porches, their garages. They danced it when we wasn't allowed to dance it anywhere else. They danced in the back of the barns 100 years ago. They danced a message, and their message was always taken. It was taken, and minstrel shows was done in blackface because they couldn't hire black people. But you wonder why we holler that it's been misappropriated. It was taken and it was used as a commodity through the tap dance when it was really hoofing, when the situation was different. The real legends that taught were not given the respect that they were creating because they were owned as people and everything that they created was assumed to be owned. So I tell you that if you want to represent street dance, then learn to represent the culture and the history that created it from the souls of the people that created it. Learn to love the music and dance inside of the music, not on top of the music. You don't control the music with your dance. The music controls your dance. Understand that there are some of us out here, I know it sounds funny, but there's some of us that don't do this for the money. We do it because it emanates from our soul and always has. If it was for the money, I would have shut up and did exactly what the group The Lockers wanted me to do back in the early days. I would have shut up and not spoke out for Don or for Greg. I would not be telling the stories of the elite camp. I would just shut up so that I would make the people that wanted me to shut up happy. But when you do that, even society shows you that you will be disrespected for acquiescing to a lie. I love all my rhythmic warriors out there. I know I keep it hard and hot. I know I keep it intense. And I know that y'all just want to have fun. And I do too. I love you all for that. Go out and have some fun. Just do the locking style. Don't even try to do it the way that a criteria should be set for it to be done. But when it's time to set the criteria, be staunch in what you believe, love what you do, and peace to you all. It's me, OG Skeeter Rabbit, the Bad Habit Rabbit, and I'm broadcasting live from this rabbit hole, straight from the island of soul. That's where we come from. That's where we take it back to. Love you all. And remember this. Remember when hip hop educated our people. We have an obligation to do the same. Peace to you. And let's end it exactly the way we started, y'all. As soon as I find the piece that means the most to me,